Hello and welcome to Spinster's Library. I'm Claudia and today I'm doing the Boujee Booktuber Tag. This tag was created from Olive from A Book Olive, and I was kindly tagged by Alex from What Page Are You On. Both of their videos are going to be linked in the description box, and this tag is all about materialism. It's all about money. So you'll find out just how much of a cheapskate I really am. If you've watched previous videos of mine, you might know that I buy most of my books second-hand because I live in a small town in Wales that has a huge amount of charity shops. So that's where I get most of my books. But let's get started. Question number 1 is, what is your average monthly budget for books? Now, I don't budget for books anymore. I used to budget for books, basically for a few years. I had a very, very strict budget to kind of teach myself good money habits. Now that I'm kind of into the swing of things, I've relaxed that a little bit. I still keep track of all of my expenses, but I don't have a fixed budget anymore. However, when I had a fixed book budget, it was always €10 a month, and then when I moved to the UK, it was £10 a month. And I would say that that's probably the upper limit of what I spend on books in a month. So I would say it's usually between £7 and £10. There are months where I don't buy any books. There are months where I go into town with a big empty tote bag and come back with that tote bag full to the brim with books. The charity shops that I go to are incredibly cheap when it comes to books. The cheapest one in my town sells paperbacks at 50p or 3 for £1. Obviously, to get the value, you have to buy 3 books to get a book at 33p and a bit. And on the more expensive end, there's the Oxfam shop, which has the biggest selection of books, but also the highest prices, and they charge you between £2 and £3 for a paperback. So I am a huge proponent of buying second-hand books. I actually did a discussion video that goes a little bit more into the moral and ethical questions about buying second-hand books. I will link that in the description box if you're interested in a bit more of a deeper discussion of whether you should buy second-hand books or not. Question 2 is, what's the most you've ever spent in a bookstore? I don't buy books in bookshops for the most part. The last time I actually entered a bookshop was March of this year, when I went to visit my parents in Germany, and I went into my local bookshop in Germany, and I believe I spent about €25 there, and I bought 2 books. Something else that's kind of interesting is the price difference in books between Germany and the UK. So let's just ignore second-hand books altogether. Let's talk about just new books. In Germany, there is something called fixed price law, I guess, a fixed price structure, meaning that a book will cost you the exact same amount of money wherever you buy it. Whereas in the UK, books are not subject to such laws. So if you go into a bookshop in Germany, books will be, on the whole, more expensive than in the UK. So you'll easily pay, around €20 for a hardcover, and then say €10 to €13 for a paperback. And those prices are unchanged. So you'll never walk into a German bookshop to find, 2 for the price of 1, or half-price books or anything like that. Here in the UK, you see books generally much cheaper than in Germany, and also you see books on special offer, buy 2 get 1 free, things like that, books on sale. That's completely normal here. So even if I were to buy new books here rather than secondhand, I would spend less money than I would in Germany. Question 3. Are you willing to pay full price for a new release, or will you wait until you have a coupon or there's a sale? No, I'm not willing to pay full price for a new release. That's not 100% true. About this time last year, I actually pre-ordered a new released book. That was Lethal White by Robert Galbraith, the alias of J.K. Rowling. And that one I what's the word if you buy it before release? Pre-ordered. I pre-ordered that one. But that's the last time I paid full price for a new release. So normally I would just wait for the book to show up in the charity shops, or if I'm really desperate to read it, I will buy a secondhand copy on Amazon Marketplace. Question 4. Would you buy one new book or several less expensive used copies? Again, I feel like it's kind of pointless me answering these questions because you'll already know. Of course, I would rather spend a tenner on 10 books from a charity shop than one new release. Question 5. What do you think is a reasonable price for a new hardback book, a paperback, and an ebook? I have no idea what a reasonable price for a new hardback is. I feel like when conservative politicians are asked the question, how much do you think does a loaf of bread cost? And then they're inevitably incapable of answering that because they've never in their life bought a loaf of bread. So I feel like this with the question, how much is a new book worth? I have no idea. Question 6. Is a signed book worth more to you? No. How about a first edition? Potentially. I don't have the kind of budget to seriously consider buying first editions of anything. But if I had the funds, then I think I would get more value out of buying a first edition than buying a signed copy. For example, I am a huge fan of Oscar Wilde. So I would, if I had the money, I would be all over a first edition Picture of Dorian Gray. But signatures, signed editions don't really... I don't really care about them as much. I have 2 books that are signed by the authors. One of them is the new Philip Pullman. See, I don't even remember the title. What's it called? Something about the sea. There it is. Nothing about the sea. It's called The Book of Dust. And I got this one signed. There you can see. To Claudia, Philip Pullman, at an event that he did at my university. But again, I haven't even read it yet. The fact that it has a signature in it, I mean, it didn't cost me anything extra. Well, it cost me about half an hour in the queue, but that's fine. The other signed book that I have is a Stephen Fry one, and it is the latest edition of his memoirs, which is called... I can't remember what it's called. Let me Google this. Ah, yes, it's called More Fool Me. And this came out in 2014, and in that same year I went to one of his readings. It wasn't actually entirely a reading. It was like he read maybe a tiny amount of the book, but mostly it was him talking about himself, which, if you know Stephen Fry, is definitely worth an evening ticket. Him talking about anything is worth your money. And at the end of the show there was a signing, so I bought the book and I went to get it signed. We had a nice little conversation in German, actually, because, again, if you're familiar with Stephen Fry, won't surprise you, he speaks pretty much fluent German, and he was telling me about seeing Mozart in Vienna. Not the composer, he was seeing an opera by Mozart in Vienna. So, at least there's a nice little memory connected to that signature. But the book itself isn't worth more to me because it has Stephen Fry's signature in it, because the book itself is actually... It's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. I think I gave it 2 stars. I did not enjoy that book. Let's continue to the next question, which is, what is your most valuable book? Brackets, sentimental or actual value? Again, it won't surprise you, I have no books of actual value. Maybe some of the books that I bought in charity shops are antiques. I don't really know. A lot of them are quite old. But the book that I have... that's most valuable to me in a sentimental way is this edition of Oscar Wilde's complete works. Now, I'm trying to show you this in a way that you can see just how faded this is. So this spine was once the same colour as the cover, and the cover itself is completely faded along here on the top. I have had this for a very long time. I would say I probably bought this when I was 14 or 15. I remember ordering this from Amazon, and this was in the days when Amazon didn't dominate the world, and when it was mostly an online bookshop. I remember buying this with my hard-earned babysitting money, and it had to be shipped from America. It took a very long time. And when it arrived, there were two copies of the same book. So obviously I sold one on eBay and made my money right back. So this is a free book. But that's not why it's so valuable to me. I got into Oscar Wilde as a teenager, and he was the first author who I wanted to read in English. Now, at that time, if you walked into my local bookshop, you wouldn't find any books in English. Nowadays, if you walk in there, there's a whole shelf of English language books. But back then, not so much. So getting hold of these texts online wasn't easy. And then reading them as well wasn't easy for me. I was sat there with a dictionary, you know, a paper dictionary. That was before Google Translate, and I read all of it. So I can say I've read every single word that Oscar Wilde has ever written. And that was a really big part of my teenage reading experience. It really got me into English language literature, really got me into 19th century classics, and now that is most of what I read. Question number 8. Will you pay more for a cover edition you like better? That's not a situation I've been in much, but say if there are 2 editions in a charity shop and one costs £3 and the other one costs 50p, yes, I will pay more for the £3 edition if I like it better. Question 9. What physical characters does a good quality book have? I don't like movie edition covers, and I think I'm with the rest of the world there. I don't know why publishers insist on printing movie edition covers. I don't know anyone who likes them. Otherwise, yeah, an aesthetically pleasing cover is nice, but it doesn't really make or break a book. I have some really ugly editions of books. Really ugly. Question 10 is, if you won the lottery, what bookish things would you do with the money? Now, if you won the lottery is a situation that I'm concerned with more than is healthy. I love thinking about what I would do with money if I won the lottery, and what bookish things I would do with it. Well, first of all, I would fit out this room into a proper library. Yeah, I would buy some new releases, definitely. My conviction to not buy new books is almost 100% financially motivated. Yeah, I would probably still go to charity shops if I had all the money, if I won the lottery. But I would also buy books new. I would go to a nice independent bookshop that costs much, much more than buying books on Amazon, and I would spend all of the money there. And I would buy some rare books, I would buy some first editions. Minervi, what would you do with all the money? Let's think about the bonus question, which is, give us an image of your dream home library. It would have to be very light. I hate reading in the dark, except on the Kindle. It's fine to read in the dark on the Kindle, but I hate reading paper books in the dark. And it would have the comfiest armchair. It would have the most amazing cat tree. Maybe it would have an integrated, like, cat adventure station, you know, built into the bookshelf, so that the bookshelf was both for books and for this baby. And it would have a secret snack cupboard. I love that question. Let me know what your dream library looks like. That was it from the Boujee Booktuber Tag. Thank you again for Alex for tagging me. I am not going to tag individual people because I'm like a month late to this. So I'm pretty sure that everyone who wants to do this tag is aware of it. If you've done the tag, let me know. I want to check out your video. I want to see how bougie you are. By the way, I definitely had to look up that word. I'm not going to lie. Apparently, it's just the 21st century equivalent of the word bourgeois. But the Bourgeois Booktuber Tag doesn't quite have the same ring to it, does it? Thank you for watching. Bye.